I got addicted to Zenless Zone Zero. MiHoYo has once again decided to consume all of my time with action games and anime. Hello everyone, local gacha addict here, wondering why my wallet is empty while I try and miserably fail at pulling on the latest banners in gacha games. How is everyone doing today? In my usual stint of hyperfocus, I've got another thing to complain about being related to Apex. It's something I've left on the back burner while I allow my addiction to gacha games slowly take over my life again. So, before I get sucked into Zenless again, I've got one singular thing to complain about. Mixtape is woefully disappointing. You are probably wondering why I want to talk about this, but I've got a pretty good reason for this. Remember when Respawn first announced that Mixtape was going to replace Arenas as the de facto casual-friendly mode, as Arenas had developed its own issues after what felt like a lack of support from Respawn themselves? From the win trading, to the usual high-rank cheating, Arenas just didn't have the player base big enough to sustain it for the foreseeable future. So when Arenas essentially died off and became a relic of the past, and I'm excluding the fact it got brought back for this season, Mixtape replaced the mode, and from what I could see, it was met with high praise and a welcome embrace from the community as a whole. Yeah, as time has gone on, Mixtape has slowly fallen more and more into a stale, boring, same 3 modes that are on repeat over and over again with maps that are incredibly subpar. So I've decided to go over some of the possible maps and game modes and prod up my brain for a while to see where I stand with them. But I've got one thing to say before I do get into the meat and potatoes of this video, and it's this. Skulltown. If you use snipers and you camp on top of the bones in Skulltown, you are an undeniable fucking pussy, and I hate fighting players like you. Pick up a gun that isn't a fucking sniper and fight like the rest of us normal people down below. That also goes to the rest of you that do nothing but use snipers in the other modes. Y'all are fucking annoying. Now then, with that small complaint out of the way, let's continue, shall we? Most of the maps that are just POIs fucking suck. They work well in the actual Battle Royale mode, but are utter dog shit for match playlists like Mixtape, especially the age-old sin of one singular part of the map being blatantly overpowered and overplayed, and becoming a camp fiesta. If anyone so much as decides that no one is allowed to have fun today, they will sit up there, do nothing, and kill anyone that tries challenging them. And I have 3 very distinct maps in the back of my mind. Monument and Fragment from World's Edge, and Watson's Pylon from Stormpoint. These 3 choices for gun run and team deathmatch encapsulate the worst aspects of bunker playstyle. You wanna know what makes bunker, actually balanced in the main battle royale mode? It's the fact it's a battle royale, and the ring moves. You are forced to move. You don't have to anchor down on a single building, but you can do exactly that in the Mixtape modes. Granted, that's always been a problem with arena shooters that are not insanely heavy on movement, like Call of Duty, maybe the odd Battlefield here and there, maybe some odd Chinese Call of Duty clone, maybe CSGO, but you get one tap fast enough to not really camp there. But Call of Duty never had something like a Watson Pylon, or fences blocking the doors, or Caustic and his ability to throw down the concentrated odor of Papa Nurgle himself and sit in it for 22 seconds. Or how about Catalyst and her ability to just literally block and reinforce doors? Camping in Mixtape, I've always seen as a bitch move, playing these characters and then proceeded to sit and do nothing for games on end while shutting off an entire section of the map, just because abilities inherently exist. This is where Mixtape gains its strong point, however, and that's because you can swap legends mid-game. People forget about this, so if you're ever dealing with a character that does nothing but camp on the high ground, and just pick Pathy or something, and place down a zipline, that usually helps. Someone annoys the fuck out of me, on the bones on Skulltown, I swap the Pathy, me, 2 of my friends, we just switch to characters and we just counter camp up there because we just don't want people having fun. But that's besides the point. That's besides the point. Now, what are the problems with the maps themselves? Let's start with Pylon. Pylon allows for people to sit on the top floor and do nothing but shoot down for most of the game. But that's the only place where I actually see heavy camping. In general, Pylon is a very well-flowing map, especially when it comes to the lower floors and especially some of the zipline fights you can get. But when it comes to that top floor and that little bit next to the survey beacon, it gets really fucking annoying if someone decides to pick any defense character and sit in Watson's little room with nothing but their thumbs up their ass and their hands on their controllers. Streamer building on Fragment and Monument, because these are 2 separate maps, but they're very close proximity of each other, are just terrible for camping as well. Monument with the 2 zip lines and the little platform up top, and streamer building on Fragment itself, which, and this is my hot take, is my single problem with World's Edge. It's Fragment itself. Too many people drop there thinking they're the next Fade or a big movement player, only to end up dying in the first 10 seconds of the match, rage quit, or berate their team for being fucking useless. Sorry mate, you're the one that died first, you don't get the right to complain. Fragment sucks in general. There. I said it. If you haven't noticed, I really don't like most of the maps based on point of interests. They weren't designed for the type of spawn die style gameplay that Mixtape really is. It's not the fault of the maps themselves. It's like trying to fit a square block in a circle hole. It just doesn't work out well. A real egregious example of this would be Core. Core from Broken Moon. By far, one of the worst Mixtape maps I've ever played. Doesn't feel great to play. Doesn't feel great to play on. There are some really annoying fucking gimmicks. And every time I play it, it's like I'm being crossed from several different directions because 3 separate teams decide to look at me. I'm not speaking hyperbolics. That's usually what happens if you're the first one to run out, which is why you don't run out. Okay, fair enough. Skill issue. Now, when it comes to the maps actually designed for smaller player sizes, like the actual arena maps themselves, they are genuinely good maps. I mean, yeah, they're arenas maps, but they work well for the smaller player count. They're not POIs themselves, and they work really well for Mixtape. Habitat 4? I mean, yeah, Habitat 4 was kind of open. You can get sniped from across the map, but it's like, you had the zip lines, you had the high ground, low ground. It flowed well. And this is something with all the arenas maps, they flowed well for what they were. Overflow, Phase Runner, and to some extent Party Crasher, but Party Crasher I'd say is not as strong as those other 3. Overflow was a personal favorite of mine when it came to the release maps from Arena. If it was a release map, I can't remember, it's been so long. It was more of a traditional 3-lane style map that was always enjoyable to me in terms of map design. It had good places for movement, it allowed for all characters to be of some use in some way, and even allowed for some really tight close combat scenarios. You could do some fun pathy launches, you could use the jump pad. I think if you took New Revenant into that map, you'd be able to get some sauce out of them. Same with Ash for that matter. In fact, any of the new movement legends you could probably take into half these maps, and you'll get some sauce out of them. Phase Runner trades the close quarters of Overflow for a more open area. It allowed for longer ranges of engagement, yes, and that does include snipers and marksman rifles. However, it was played in a way that the longer ranges didn't feel too oppressive unless someone was sat at the back of the map in their spawn. And even then, that was a rarity. It didn't feel too oppressive, and going through that phase runner was a fun thing to do. So when you pop out, you immediately see the other team, you guys just start crossing on the catwalk. It was a really fun map. It flowed. And then there was on the opposite side of it with the stairs and the symmetrical design. The symmetrical design of the maps are what work really well for it. Well, near symmetrical. There are some things that differ, but you can sort of notice the pattern here. Most of the maps that are good are purpose-built for smaller fights and not full-blown 60-man blood sports. Arena's map design was pretty good in my opinion. I wish we saw more of it. And this is going to be more of a retrospective of Arenas itself. It was a good concept. 3v3, round-based elimination, 5 rounds, high stakes, high intensity. The problem with Arenas is that the meta was quickly discovered and the way that it was played became a lot more annoying. I think it would be a lot more annoying now, especially with some of the new reworked characters like Lifeline. Definitely, new Lifeline in Arenas goes stupid. Newcastle would also be a problem. Newcastle also would be incredibly annoying. It's just, at the time when Arenas was released, it was unique because it was roughly around that point where a lot of us were starting to feel the strain on not having that many new modes. And me personally, I wasn't super confident on Apex in general. I'd get stomped in the main mode, so Arenas quickly became my escape, you know? Arenas quickly became the mode that it was my main mode. I mean, for fuck's sake, I peaked gold 1 in one of the seasons, and that was probably the most casual I was at the time. Not in comparison to now, where I feel like I take things way too seriously, but that's besides the point. I think what Respawn and by further extent EA did by bringing back this mode is they wanted to test the waters and see if the old people that wanted Arenas back would actually stick to the mode. And I'm going to be honest with you, it doesn't feel the same. Arenas doesn't feel the same. It might be because of the fact that I myself have personally gotten better as a player throughout the time, but the experience is not the same. I think Arenas at the time could only happen at the time because it made sense. Arenas now, because the overall skill floor of the player base has gotten better, I'd say Arenas just doesn't feel the same. Arenas doesn't feel the same. The point is that Arenas produced some really good maps. There was a reason it died. And there was a reason why Mixtape got the Arenas maps back and some of the POIs, which is where I was originally going to go. Even though Mixtape is a pretty good mode for those that like to warm up, it has some pretty shit maps. You don't really think about it, but when someone points it out, it feels kind of arse, you know? Because Mixtape was... In all honesty, Mixtape is a great idea. It's a great thing for the more casual player base. There's a reason they never added trackers to Mixtape, because then it would just turn into another case of people wanting to stat farm and then show off and then, I don't know, build a career out of it. Though it does prove one thing. Apex could definitely work as a more traditional 6v6 arena shooter, or like one of the small arena shooters, sort of like because Team Deathmatch definitely proved this. It just sucks to think about. Speaking of shit that sucks to think about, I'm gonna go back to raging at Vishojo for being 100 times worse than Niji Sanji. Fuck you, Vishojo. And I'm also gonna go back to grinding for my gacha in Zenless Zone Zero. And that will be it from me. Links in the description, and this time I did fix the Discord link. I didn't realize I was still running on a broken link this whole time, and I only recently got around to fixing that, so hey, progress, I guess. Like, comment, subscribe if you really want to. Follow me on Twitter and Twitch, where I've gotten around to playing a lot more variety recently, and it's been a good time. So if you just want to chill and listen to me ramble about random shite or just rage at a video game sometimes, I'll be over there. My Twitter is where I've really become active, as I've started to turbo hate on corporations and the government again. As you do. So without further delay, I will leave you lovely people to whatever it is you are doing. Be sure to stretch your legs, grab a drink or a snack, or just go take a nap or something. Seriously, go do something feel good. It's been Azura, and I'm signing out. Toodles!